Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Amy Cox, and I'm the Director of the Career Readiness and Workforce Partnerships at the New York State Education Department. We are here to present proposed revisions to the New York Perkins 5 State Plan and solicit public comment on those revisions. I would ask that all comments, either verbal or written, be confined to the two areas of revision we discussed this afternoon. This webinar will be recorded and posted to the New York State Education Department's Career and Technical Education website. Perkins 5, or the Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act, is federal legislation designed to provide funding to states to support career and technical education. This legislation was reauthorized in 2018, with particular emphasis on supporting access and success for special populations, including students with disabilities and English language learners. This reauthorization also marked the addition of the Comprehensive Local Needs Assessment, or CLNA, requirement. The CLNA must be conducted by Perkins recipients no less than every 2 years to review student performance on metrics determined by the legislation and assess what components of programs may need to be funded to close any gaps identified. New York last submitted a state plan in 2020, and the revisions discussed today are to that plan. Per the 2020 state plan and requirements set forth by the legislation, local recipients are first identified as eligible based on their Perkins allocation of $15,000 or more at the secondary level and $50,000 or more at the post-secondary level. Secondary allocations are determined through statewide census data. BOCES do not generate their own allocation. Instead, they form consortia with their component districts who may choose to sign their allocation over to the BOCES. Post-secondary allocations are determined by enrollment in programs, and consortia may also be formed to meet the $50,000 threshold. Once the eligibility requirement is met, the district and/or eligible agencies must meet size, scope, and quality metrics. For secondary, recipients must offer a minimum of 3 NYSED-approved programs with a minimum of 8 concentrators. At the post-secondary level, institutions must have a minimum of 5 approved CTE programs. Programs must prepare concentrators for employment in high-skill, high-wage, or in-demand careers, lead to technical skill proficiency or a recognized post-secondary credential, and ensure all students are provided with equitable access to CTE programs of study. To ensure quality of programs, Perkins recipients must provide all student and program level data aligned to federal reporting requirements to the New York State Education Department. At the secondary level, these data include student performance on ELA, math, and science assessments, graduation rate, completion of a minimum of 54 hours of work-based learning, enrollment in non-traditional fields, and post-program placement. At the post-secondary level, these data include post-secondary retention and placement, earned recognized post-secondary credential during participation in or within 1 year of program completion, and non-traditional program enrollment. Over the past year, the department's Office of CTE worked with stakeholders from the New York State Association for Career and Technical Education, the Association of Career and Technical Education Administrators, the statewide Network for Career and Technical Education, and the Career and Technical Education Content Advisory Panel. Their review of the plan, conversations with one another, and discussions around increasing access to career and technical education for all students provided meaningful feedback that evolved into the 2 revisions discussed today. While these revisions may seem minor in the larger scope of the plan, we believe they will have a major impact for students. First, eligible secondary Perkins recipients may choose to apportion some of their annual funding for newly approved CTE programs or developing programs on the threshold of NYSED approval. While this was previously unallowed due to a lack of performance data, there is need to provide educators with professional development and curricular development opportunities prior to the start of their programs, ensuring curricular and instructional continuity. Second, eligible secondary Perkins recipients may choose to apportion some of their annual funding for professional development opportunities for middle-level educators, counselors, and administrators, and student supports through career and technical student organizations at the middle level. Additionally, using last year's revised and reset state-determined performance levels, the May 2025 submission will include updated SDPLs for the next 4 years. Only eligible agencies whose programs are meeting Perkins indicators and can verify through the Student Information Reporting Services, or SIRS, that students are receiving the 1.75 units of middle-level CTE will be eligible to direct Perkins funding towards these initiatives. It is important to understand that Commissioner's regulations require that all middle-level students receive 1.75 units of CTE, and therefore attention must be paid to using funds only to support, but not to supplant, local efforts. This means salaries, benefits, purchase services, travel, supplies and materials, and equipment that would normally be covered through local district budgets cannot be supported by Perkins funding. After this public hearing, the Office of CTE will compile all public comments and draft responses to be included in the final state plan revisions that will be presented to the Board of Regents in March 2025. With the board's approval, the revised state plan will be submitted to the U.S. Department of Education in May 2025 for approval and implementation in the 2025 and 2026 school year. We will now provide an opportunity for those who registered to comment to provide their, for those who registered to comment to provide their comments. Other comments may be submitted in the Q&A, where they will be recorded and documented in the responses in the final state plan. Additionally, comments about these revisions or the updated SDPL should be submitted to CTE Perkins Plan at NYSED.gov. And again, a recording of this webinar will be available on the New York State Education Department's Office of Career and Technical Education website. So I will turn it over to my colleague, Celia Rueda, who will identify those scheduled to ask questions or provide comments. Celia?
Good afternoon. Would Mr. Mohammed Hussain like to present his comments?
Based on the attendee list, Mohammed is not present this evening.
Thank you. We'll move on to Dr. Tamika Pierre-Louis.
Dr. Pierre-Louis is also not in attendance this evening.
And lastly, we have registered Avian Gums.
Avian Gums, also not present.
Is there any other participants that would like to provide comment? If so, please come off mute.
Kim Hutter. Kim, if you could unmute yourself. Kim, you have your hand raised. Do you wish to speak this evening? There you go.
I'm sorry, no comment. I hit the button in
Okay.
error.
Thank you, Kim. No worries. Amy, we have no other hands raised at this time.
Okay. We will stay on live until 4:30 to ensure that everyone who is participating has an opportunity should they come up with a question during that time. If at 4:30 we receive no questions, we will close this public hearing and again provide the recording at the NYSA.gov Career Technical Education website. For those of you without any questions, you are in fact free to leave the webinar.
Thomas Felton, your hand is raised. Would you like to speak?
Sure. Can you hear me?
I
Yes.
can.
Okay, so I'm looking at our junior high course guide. And so you said would it be the CTE courses needed? They'd have to be 1.75 credits?
So middle level CTE students need to receive 1.75 credits or units of CTE. That can be achieved through a single course, such as technology education. It can be achieved through 2 courses. Traditionally, it was achieved through technology education and family and consumer sciences. Or it can be met through multiple courses as long as they are CTE courses in the 7 content areas and taught by a certified CTE teacher. Does that answer your question?
So with the 1.75 credits at the middle level, that would satisfy Perkins support at the middle level. Is that what you were saying before?
Yes, to the extent that the district is reporting on the students obtaining the 1.75 credits of CTE. So the hand in hand with the Perkins comes the responsibility of ensuring reporting on students completing that 1.75 units of CTE.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And if you have any additional questions or thoughts, please do not hesitate to submit them to that CTE Perkins Plan mailbox.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I also see a question in the Q&A from, excuse me if I mispronounce, is it Jacan Watkis? Can you provide a specific example of a supplemental use of Perkins funds to support middle-level CTE programs?
Celia, would you like to address that?
Yes. So once, as Amy has just made clear, once we have data reported through the Student Information Repository System showing that your district is delivering the 1.75 units of middle level CTE, and you are in an LEA that is eligible for Perkins, or working in collaboration with your BOCES consortium that is eligible for Perkins funds. A supplemental use example could be allowing your middle level CTE teachers to participate in the professional development offered at the secondary level. The middle level counselors could also partake in high quality professional development around CTE programs. Your middle level administrator. It may also be things like activities that are in addition to what is already offered within the course curriculum. Potentially a career awareness, career exploration event hosted locally at the BOCES by your own district. Those are just a few examples that would supplement what is already being offered.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, I would like to reiterate that any additional comments or questions that individuals may have that may not be addressed today can be submitted to our CTE Perkins Plan at NYSED.gov mailbox.
We have another question in the Q&A, also from Jacan Watkis. How far along in the certification process does a new secondary CTE program have to be in order to be eligible for the Perkins funds to be considered for use? Our guidance information that will be forthcoming will outline a few different scenarios for this question. A program can be in development stage where you have the idea, you have some curriculum, and you're looking to hire a teacher to help you complete that process. It can also be where you are almost ready to submit for approval using the NYSED program approval process, and also needing support for staff to complete that process for you with Perkins. Or you can have a program that is already NYSED approved, ready to be offered September 2025, and Perkins can be used to support that program as it grows to reach size, scope, and quality requirements, using things such as professional development for the newly hired teacher, translated materials for your English language learners, covering the cost of the technical assessment fee for that brand new program to alleviate a financial barrier. There are a lot of different scenarios, and the program can be in development, nearly ready for submission, or already approved and working towards size, scope, and quality to fit into some of these flexibilities. Does that answer your question, Jacan?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Looking at the time, it is 4:26. If there are other questions, please let us know. Again, you can either raise your hand, you can put them in the Q&A, or you can submit them to the CTE Perkins plan at NYSED.gov box. And they will be responded to in the state plan. But if there are no further questions or comments, we will end this public hearing at 4:30. Bailey, one final check. Do we have any additional questions in the Q&A?
We only have a wish of happy holidays and thank you for the event.
Well, may I also say a very safe, healthy, and joyful holiday season to our entire field and to everyone.
Matthew DeMella, did you have a question as we are about to end the public hearing? But happy to welcome your comment or question. Matthew, the presentation is complete and the recording will be both on the NYSED.gov Career and Technical Education website, as well as the New York State Career and Technical Education TAC website. You can also submit any questions you may have to the CTE Perkins plan at NYSED.gov mailbox that remains on our screen.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And again, wishing everyone a wonderful holiday season.